Hi, this is Jen with Iowa Backyard Farmer, and today we're going to talk about pumpkins, specifically pie pumpkins, and which ones make the best pies. So I've got an assortment here of different pumpkins and squash, and the question always is, will it make a great pie? And so I want to talk to you about the different types of pumpkin. You can see there's different colors. We've got this kind of buff one, the green one, a blue one, orange ones, but how do you know which ones to use? Let's talk about some similarities first. Look at these three, and you can tell that they're all going to be in the same family group, and if you know this one, you're going to know that they're all in the butternut family, and they're going to have really similar baking characteristics. This is a butternut, a Long Island cheese, I believe this is Dickinson, and then this is a honey nut or baby, which
just a baby butternut.
It's a baby butternut. It's going to be a little bit sweeter, and it's going to have a lot of those same characteristics. These are really good baking squash. If in doubt, use these. And we're going to cut up open, and I'll show you why. These here are more of a sugar pumpkin. They're going to be really sweet. They've got good flavor. I think this is Cinnamon Girl and Winter Luxury. You can tell by all the netting on it. And the reason I like these is that they're not too big. If you come with me to the scale here, we're going to weigh this pumpkin real fast. And it weighs 3 pounds, which is just about what you want. This will make one pie. When you chop it up and bake it, and then you're going to drain some of the excess liquid off, this will make one good sized pie, which is really nice if you're going to make one fresh pie. This one over here, this is an Amish Pie squash. My mom grows these for me. This is closer to 35 or 40 pounds, and they are fabulous, and I'll show you why when we cut into it. But it is a big undertaking. This thing is going to fill up my whole oven. And if you're growing these in your garden, I want you to just notice something. The reason my mom grows these, do you see this stem? Look how big and hollow that is. That is like the world's best hotel for vine borers. And we struggle with vine borers here, and I love this squash, and I try and grow it, but they think that this is absolutely fabulous. And so they move in and kill my vines. If you look at these butternut squashes, you can see anything in this family group has this really small, really dense stem, and vine borers will not give them trouble. You can see compared to some of these other squashes, like just a standard pumpkin, it's going to have not a hollow stem, and they're going to be easier to grow. So for all those reasons, these are the ones that I tend to grow in my garden. They make really good pies, and vine borers do not bother them. But everybody always wants to ask, what about my pumpkin that I spent money for to decorate my front porch? Will it make a good pie? We're going to open it up and find out. So let's do one for comparison. Let's start with a butternut. And come over here, and I've got a cutting board, and I secured it with a towel so it won't slide, because I don't want it to slide. And we're going to cut off the top. A sharp knife is good because you can't really cut through the stem. And then I'm going to cut kind of right where it starts to bulb out. And you'll see that that whole thing is meat all the way through. And if I was canning these, I usually can these in chunks for baking later. It's a really nice squash to work with. It's not, I don't know if you can see that, that's not stringy at all. It will bake up, and it will be really, really creamy. And you get a lot of squash for your pumpkin. The smaller bell part of this pumpkin we cut through, and it's going to be hollow just a little bit. And you can scoop those seeds out, and there's still really good flesh on there, but this neck part of the squash is where you're going to get the bulk of it, and that's a really, really nice butternut squash. Let's do a Long Island cheese. Let's see how closely related they are. So, or Dickinson. Let's do Dickinson. So this is a very similar family line group, and let's see if we can carve into this one. Again, we're going to avoid that stem because it's pretty Pretty thick to get through. Oh, and look at that. You can see that it's even more orange. These are gonna make like your classic pumpkin puree that you would find in a can. It is a little bit more fibrous in here, but this makes spectacular pie. Again, we're gonna scoop out the inside, bake that, and turn it into puree. It's not quite as much as your butternut, but the flavor of this and the color of this is absolutely amazing. Okay, that was Dickinson. Let's try Long Island cheese. Okay, the same thing. They're kind of flat. I like them. They look like little cheese wheels. Again, in that same family group of squash as the butternut. That was not a straight cut, but it doesn't matter. And you can you see the similarities? There's some family differences, but this also, if you were to touch it, it's so smooth. It's going to make a really creamy puree, and it's going to taste fantastic. And you can roast these seeds if you want to do that too. Okay, so let's put this one back. All right, let's open one of our sugar. Put it back together. Let's open this one. This is one, it's called Winter Luxury. It's supposed to make a fabulous pie. I have not cooked with it, but let's see if we can tell if it has the good characteristics of a pie pumpkin. And again, we're gonna just kind of chop into it there. Go down from the other side now. There we go. There you go. And this looks like it will make a really good pie too. They start to get, I don't know, I'll show you on the bigger one. You can start to see the fibers. The problem with most big pumpkins that you want to make a pie with is that those fibers, they tend to be watery and they're fibrous and they're not as good. But this one looks like it will do a really good job. You can see though, again, by comparison to your butternut and some of the other ones where this is all meat and this is a big hollow space. We're gonna see, but this size pumpkin will make about one pie. Okay, let's come back and try. We'll do a comparison with our biggest one. Put that upside down. There you go. Oh, okay, so I bought this at the store because it's Halloween and the kids wanted to carve one, but then they didn't. And so I've got this just gigantic pumpkin, and it weighs a pretty good ton here.
So which one is heavier, that one?
Or this one?
Or that one?
This one by a long shot, and I will show you why in a minute. Okay, so here we go. And the reason they like these pumpkins to carve them is because they have a relatively thin flesh, although this one is giving me trouble. This is why we don't carve pumpkins at my house. Okay, pie pumpkins are so much easier. Oh, here, let me hold that and you whack at this one. There you go. Here we're now changing out the cameraman for the...
Okay.
Alright. Usually you don't have these in halves. You just go around the top and scoop out the guts, but we're going to show this whole side.
So you just do like a
do a wedge.
Of it?
Yeah, do a wedge.
I am not the most experienced
pumpkin carver,
so we'll let's see how this goes.
Take a wedge out.
Came out.
All right. So see, this is a good example. And look at that. There's so many pumpkin seeds in there. And it's going to be great. We'll roast those. But look at the difference in the flesh here. You see all those little dots? It's going to be a really fibrous pumpkin. It doesn't have the same color. So back to our Dickinson. You're thinking pumpkin puree. This is going to be pumpkin puree colored. This just jack-o'-lantern pumpkin is so pale by comparison, and it's going to be fibrous. Not quite as bad as a spaghetti squash, and it's not going to be very sweet. It's not going to be very sweet. So given the choice, I'm not gonna pie this one, but the seeds will be great. Okay, let's move this one back out here. Let's try one of these other new ones that we've tried. The blue one? Yeah, let's try the blue one.
Or do you want to do this little one first?
Yeah, we can do that one. This is another sugar pumpkin. This one's called Cinnamon Girl. All right, do you want a camera or do you want to chop?
Let's see. You can go ahead and try to give it a chop.
Okay, so here we go. Again, you're going to see it's a paler color and it's really pretty thin. It is going to taste sweet because it's a sugar pumpkin, but it's not going to be as creamy as this Dickinson or the Butternut. It's going to be a little bit more watery, a little bit more fibrous, and you've got this great big cavity for the seeds, but it will taste all right. Sugar pie pumpkins are good. Good.
There's not even a ton of seeds, so if you wanted to grow this thinking, well, I'll just roast the seeds, there's not a lot of seeds there.
There's not a lot, but it makes decent pie, and they make good. It's a good multi-purpose if you wanted to just do one and have something for the kids to play with and something to bake later, because you can't carve a butternut. So let's try that one. This blue one. What did we decide? We picked this one up at Hilltop Farms, not too far from here.
Yep, I believe this one is a crown prince. There's 2 or 3 different kind of fairly common blue pumpkin varieties, and this one, just based on the smoothness of the skin, I think it's a crown prince. But there are some other newer ones that mature a lot earlier, so we may actually grow some of those next year.
Yeah, so I'm excited to see this one. They said this is a good baking one, so we'll see if it stands up. We're looking for good color and a creamy flesh.
Certainly harder to cut than
and more
cutters.
solid. The more flesh you can get in a pumpkin, the more pumpkin you get out of it. If they're all hollow, you have to use a whole lot more of them to make the same amount. So this one sounds promising.
Oh.
And this is Steven's showing you the classic thing you should not do, which is get your knife stuck in the pumpkin. So an extraction may be necessary here.
Okay, we got it out. So let's just make a wedge on this one.
Rule number 1, don't stick your knife in too deep, just a little bit, and then kind of pull down like he's doing there, and then you'll pull it out and go down again if it gets too stuck. There you go. So you don't get the whole knife stuck into it. Oh, look at that. That is a great pie or baking squash. Look at that. The color on that. Here, we'll put our Dickinson pumpkin back in. We've got this really vibrant colors. We've got a really creamy texture. If you run your fingers on it, that's going to bake up really nice. And it has a smaller seed cavity, so you've got a lot of pumpkin in there. Pull back out the one of the thinner skinned ones. Okay, so here you have again, this is Winter Luxury, and you can see it's thinner here. It is still very creamy, but it's got this big seed cavity, and this blue one has a richer color. It's got smoother flesh and a smaller seed cavity, which is going to make it a great baking squash. And then pull back out the cargo pumpkin. And we'll see, compare that again to, this is our jack-o'-lantern pumpkin, and you can see how much more fibrous that's going to be, and it almost has no color by comparison, and it's not going to be very sweet. These other ones are going to be much nicer. Okay, let's try, I can't remember that one. I'll leave a piece of this one here. And this is the, I can't remember what it is. I'll put it in the comments or something. Write it on there. It's a Japanese style pumpkin, and it also is recommended for fall baking. It looks a lot like a buttercup without the other piece on the bottom. And there you go. Again, a really nice dark color. This one's gonna bake up really creamy and smooth. You can hardly see any of the fibrous things. Like on, where's our pumpkin, our jack-o'-lantern pumpkin again? I want to show you. See, this one's gonna be hairy, stringy, and not sweet. This one's gonna be super creamy, and it's gonna make a fabulous pie. It's gonna make a fabulous pie. Okay. All right, here's Steven, and we've got our last squash left. This is an Amish Pie squash. Is that gonna cut it? Maybe.
I'm not sure that's gonna cut it. In the words of Crocodile Dundee, this is a knife.
That's a knife, all right. Freshly sharpened, I might add, so we're gonna be careful.
And I have no idea how to cut this, but we will give it a try. We'll try the same route that we did with the others. Try not to cut through the stem.
You almost need a mallet with that too to,
yeah.
And you're gonna see why in a minute. They're squash, and then maybe if you use the small one to get in, I don't know. Just don't get it stuck, remember. There we go. You just kind of slide it in, then slide it down. Use your gravity and downward thrust to kind of go down, but be careful. This one's tricky. Okay, we now pause for extraction.
Yeah. Okay, got it out. Just had to turn it around and it looked much better.
Yeah, all right, try it again. This is why we don't carve this pumpkin. This is not the one for making pretty faces on at Halloween, but it is the best baking squash that I've ever come across. And we've got some pretty good ones up here. There, 90% of the way around.
Get around the stem now.
I suppose you could like drop it on the cement or something, let it shatter, and then pick up the pieces, but you can probably just pull it apart from there, yeah. Just wedge it apart with your hands. All right, check this thing out. Okay, one, it's huge. Like we said, it's like 35 pounds. Two, there's like no fibrous parts. This is fantastic. Three, it's got a really good color. So hand us the jack-o'-lantern pumpkin again by comparison. Okay, again, you can see it's so pale, and all these dots and all this fibers, and it's not gonna be very sweet. This one is just like solid meat. It's a really good color, and you can't really even tell the fibers. It's gonna bake up super creamy and pretty dry. You're not gonna have to drain it too much to have the right texture. So there you have it, our pie pumpkin choices. Which one is your favorite, do you think?
I like all of them, but I probably I like the Amish Pie squash flavor a lot. I also really like the Dickinson flavor a lot, and I like the color a lot as well. Dickinson is kind of the classic one, as you mentioned, that like Libby's and others frequently use for their
some variety of this kind.
Yeah, something like this, and really like this one because it with that solid stem, we can grow it here, and the squash vine borers don't bother it. So.
Yeah, so like I mentioned, if squash vine borers are a problem for you, this is a really hard one to grow because that stem is humongous and it's hollow and the vine borers just move right in. But if you can get your hands on one, this is a fantastic pie squash. This Dickinson pumpkin, probably my second favorite. I'm really excited to try this blue one. What did we call that one again?
Crown Prince.
Crown Prince. You can probably pick that up at a farmer's market or a stand. And I cannot remember this one. You can see it has some similar coloring, and it's really going to bake up really creamy.
But in terms of what you're probably used to eating, if you buy it like a pumpkin pie at Sam's Club, a lot of them are actually butternut pies, and I love the flavor of those as well.
Yeah, butternut makes a fabulous pie. So... Okay, here we are inside. We've been baking some of these. Some have come out. This one just came out of the oven. This is mostly that Amish Pie squash. And it's pretty hot. I like to cook them in an oven bag because it keeps it all together. And in the case of some of these drier pumpkins, it doesn't dry it out. You can see all the liquid come in close, and you can see how much liquid comes off of these. And we'll save some of that because it's really good for bread. But we can tell it's done. Come back. We can tell it's done because your fork goes into it really, really soft and easy. And you can see it's a really good, soft. It's not stringy at all. It's gonna be super delicious. Here, I'm gonna try just a little bit of a bite. It just came out of the oven. It's so hot. And that's really good. It's got a sweetness. It's not the sweetest pumpkin, but it's got a really good creaminess and it's got a really good flavor. So if you come over here, I have some more that I've tried. If you can zoom in on these. This is our butternut that we did, and you can see that it also, it's cooked till it's soft, and then it's creamy, it's not stringy. And let me take a bite of this one. Very good. It's sweeter than the Amish Pie squash, but it's not as creamy, and the flavor isn't as complex. It's good though. I'm gonna take out a couple more spoons here. This one is what did I say this one was? This is the Japanese style pumpkin. I'll put the name on. It escapes my mind, but this one is also really creamy. It's a little darker brown. You can see this is more orange, but it is super, super sweet and super creamy. And it doesn't have too much water, and it also has a nuttiness to it that I really like. So that one is fantastic. This one, remember our blue pumpkin? This is our blue pumpkin. We're gonna taste this one. Also, again, a creamier pumpkin. And we'll give this one a taste and see how we are. Very, very good. And again, this one is sweeter, but this is plenty creamy, and if you're using it and baking it would taste good. So far, if I was just eating one straight, this one would win. Okay, new spoon. And this is Dickinson pumpkin. You can see that this is more of that classic orange pumpkin that you're used to, and it bakes up really nice too. And we're gonna taste a bite of this one. And it's very mild. It tastes sweet, but it doesn't have a lot of flavor to it, but it's got a really good color, and it's pretty creamy. That would be kind of like what you would get in a can of pumpkin. And then here's our last one. This is a Long Island cheese. I'll give it a taste. It's good flavor. It tastes a lot like a butternut, but it's not as creamy as a butternut. So let's see. So in order of my favorites today, this one, the Japanese style pumpkin, this one, the blue one, and the Amish Pie, well, probably the Amish Pie squash second, and then this one. And then what we've done here is to process them, we'll put them in the blender, and we're just gonna blend it up. And here we go. Okay. All right, when I look at this, this is kind of a blend of all of them, because at this point I'm gonna put them all together. And you can see how much creamier that is, but it's not quite done yet. We'll taste this a little bit. That's really good. That's a blend of all of them. Okay. Okay, so we've got this really nice puree, but we're not quite done. We're gonna pour it into a fine mesh strainer here. This is a yogurt strainer, but it works really good for this too. And we're gonna get some of this extra liquid out, because when you are cooking with it in your recipes, like you would with canned pumpkin is also strained to be a little bit drier, and this will help you have the same consistency. And then what I will do is put it in freezer bags in the size that I would normally use in my recipes. You can't can pumpkin puree just as it is, not even pressure canned, but you can do it in chunks. So I will can some of these in chunks, but the puree I'm gonna freeze and use for things later. And you can see it's already starting to drip. These are nice pie pumpkins. They are not gonna let off a whole lot of liquid, but we're gonna let them drip out as much as they want. And then I will use that pumpkin water in bread, and it makes fantastic bread. Hey, while this is draining, I thought I'd bring you back. I cooked just a little slice of that jack-o'-lantern pumpkin, just so you can see the difference. You can see even when after it's cooked up, it's a lot more pale than this. This is a chunk of the Amish Pie squash, and you can see that this is really meaty. It's gonna be a really creamy pumpkin. It just mashes right up there, right on the fork. And you can see that the difference in this jack-o'-lantern pumpkin is that it's not quite a spaghetti squash, but you can see that it wants to be strings. It's gonna be a stringy texture. And if I were to grind this up, there's really not that much flavor in it. There's not that much sweetness. Here, I'll taste just a little bit for you, because I love you, but nobody should have to do this. It's okay. It's very mild. It is not creamy at all. It is edible, but it's not great. It's not great. It would be okay. I think every year that we did pumpkins, I tried to rescue a jack-o'-lantern pumpkin, thinking, you know, this will be a great thing, and the kids can decorate with it, and then I'll eat it later. But it really isn't designed for that. This is so much better. I almost forgot about my sugar pumpkins. This was an all-day project. This is Winter Luxury, and it cooked up great too. It is really nice and creamy. It's got a good flavor. It's a good choice for a pie pumpkin. And Cinnamon Girl is sweet, but not a whole lot other than just sweet. There's some better ones out there. Here's some bread that we made with the leftover pumpkin water and the 12 quarts of pumpkin that we got out of all those pumpkins, and the pumpkin water we're going to use for bread. There it is for the freezer. We'll talk to you later. Bye.